We got to get on that shit. Let's just out a bunch of stuff and see what sticks, and nothing really stuck. It's nothing but jokes and memes.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
You mean our guest tonight is
Dedicated to truth, justice, and peace. It's the world's greatest superpower show.
And welcome to Minding the Multiverse. My name is Gabriel.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are here to talk about comics, culture, and to find out how many bathroom breaks do two 40-year-old men need to get through a 4-hour movie.
Oh.
I think it was 3.
3. Yeah. 3. 3 and too much coffee. Had it been water or soda or something, it wouldn't be so bad, but coffee, man.
Yeah, I think we both put away a whole pot of coffee, and then we didn't even
It just goes right through you.
I think we cut about a minute into the end credits. It's like, hey, do you want to stick around to see if there's an ending? Nope.
Nope. 4 hours was long enough.
Yes, it was. So this week we watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. We watched it together. It was really fun. I enjoyed watching a 4-hour movie with my buddy Jeremy. I haven't done that in a long time.
It was a long time since we've been to the movies.
Right. So we watched it together, and so we're going to talk about it this week, the whole episode, because we're just going to talk about the movie and what we thought about it, and the whole show is going to revolve around that. So we're going to be a little off model this week, but still relevant. And we wanted to watch it. We needed an excuse to watch it. So
yeah, we did. Yeah, and it's had to carve out 4 hours of time was pretty difficult.
Yeah, we had to plan it. It was a couple different attempts. It's a lot.
It's tough.
Yeah, so we'll see if the podcast is just as long.
I don't think a 4-hour review of it is necessary. That's for sure. The 4 hours of the movie wasn't necessary. That's for sure.
Well, a little behind the scenes for the audience. This would not be the first 4-hour long podcast I've cut.
Yeah, sometimes we go a little long.
Yeah, sometimes we meander. I'm sure we won't do that this week. So this week, again, we're going to talk about the movie. So we're going to kind of break this out into 2 sections. We're going to start off with non-spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, you can stick around for a bit, kind of see what we thought overall. We're going to hit just a few general plot points, things, especially if you saw the theatrical cut, things you'll already know about.
Yeah, things that are known.
Right. And then we'll transition to a more spoiler-heavy section later on. And that way, if you have seen it, we're all going to get into kind of the nitty-gritty of it. So, hopefully, that is as fun as it is to listen to as it was to write. I was actually kind of going through, as we were watching the movie, I was just kind of taking down notes. I've got this yellow legal pad next to me with all these scribbled down notes on it that eventually made its way into these typed up
nice.
Bullet points.
Much more professional than me. I didn't take any notes.
Hey, that's okay. I was just delighted that you remembered I was there the whole time. That's a thing Jeremy has. Is Jeremy's much more into movies than I am. I'm a pop culture movie guy. Like, I can tell you a lot of facts about a movie that I've never seen. Jeremy actually enjoys movies. So yeah, I was totally expecting to just lose you into this movie. But yeah, so that was fine. It worked out well. You remembered I was there the whole time.
Yes.
All right. So we'll jump right into it. First off, I just want to ask you just kind of an overall, how did you think this stacked up against the theatrical cut?
Well, it definitely is better. Let's get that out of the way, I guess, right off the bat. Is the 4-hour Snyder Cut better than the theatrical cut? Who I think, it's Whedon. Joss Whedon did the theatrical cut after some behind-the-scenes drama, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah. There was he took over. I think originally he was supposed to take over to just kind of finish it, but once they started retooling it, they retooled it pretty heavily.
Yeah, and if the 4-hour cut is any evidence as to just how much Joss Whedon changed Zack Snyder's original plan, it's drastic. It's a drastic change. The character tones are all different. The stories, it plays out similar, obviously, but I mean, so much was left on the cutting room floor comparatively, and so I'm happy to see this version. It is better. It's more fun. It's darker, literal, and story wise. Yeah. He definitely tweaks the tone of the movie down. It's less colorful, which is fine. Whatever. It looked good.
Yeah. And a lot of the jokes were cut. So a lot of the Joss stuff that was retooled added a lot of humor to it to try to kind of sync up with the Marvel universe. The Marvel universe is overall pretty funny.
Yeah.
They don't take themselves too terribly seriously.
Yeah, a lot of lightheartedness, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, two of their most popular characters is a tree and a raccoon.
Right.
They don't take themselves too seriously. And so I think that they were trying to do that with the theatrical cut as well. So, yeah, they spent, it was about $100 million on reshoots. And that was mainly just to add a handful of jokes.
Yeah,
most of which kind of don't really land.
Yeah, it's pretty silly too because it changes the tone of the characters. And whatnot, I mean, in the wedding cut, what's his face, Arthur Curry, Aquaman was very frat bro-y, and in this one he's not so much. That's for sure. It's a more serious movie overall.
There's a lot more brooding overall.
Yeah,
things aren't as jokey. You don't get there's a joke that got put in of Wonder Woman saying I work with children. They're all children, right. It's kind of cute, but it's the middle of the climactic battle scene or whatever. It's like, all right, time and place.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, exactly. And I mean, to Wonder Woman, to be fair, everybody would seem like a child.
She's like 5,000 years old.
So long, yeah. Oh, well, that human's never going to get out of that phase because he's going to die before he can, give it over, that kind of shit. So
that was one joke that was added or was in the Snyder cut that wasn't in the theatrical cut, that at least as I recall, was a Flash talking to Cyborg and asking, hey, do you think she'd be into a younger guy? And Cyborg just flatly answers, she's 5,000 years old. All guys are younger guys.
Right. And no, that wasn't in the wedding cut. No.
I didn't think so because that was funny.
Yeah. Because it was funny, so therefore it was not in the wedding cut.
That's why it stuck out. It's like, oh, that actually made me laugh. That's cute.
Yeah, I mean, and so, yeah, you get this. They're totally different movies.
Yeah.
Tone's different. Yeah, everything's different.
Yeah, I agree. And with you, so I preferred the Snyder cut. I don't, aside from for the show, I don't know if I'll go back to watch it again very soon, only because it is kind of such an undertaking, and it's not it's not a light fun movie.
No.
For the most part.
And that was actually that was my main criticism. Everybody knows that this new cut is 4 hours long. It's not rewatchable, at least not in my opinion. It's rewatchable maybe in chunks or skip through.
Yeah.
How many shots of Amy Adams do we have where she says nothing and it's slow-mo?
Right.
It's very pretty, and it's cool, and her hair flowing in the wind and her contemplating shit. It's like, okay, we get it. It didn't need to be in the movie.
There's a handful of lingering shots where even if you cut the 3-4 seconds out of it, it would have been effective, but they hang on just long enough for you to go okay, what?
Yeah.
It gives you too much time to think about what's going on, or why you're not syncing up with the emotion on screen. That kept happening for me. It was I'm supposed to be feeling something right now, but I don't know what I'm supposed to, because so much of it is of the same tone.
Right.
There's not a lot of highs and lows. It's more of a median. But yeah, I would find myself in those shots of her or somebody else, or just random people Zack Snyder knows.
Right.
Just hanging on them. And to that point, fun fact, roughly 10% of the movie's in slow motion. That's an honest fact. I'm not even making that up. It's not hyperbole.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot, and I think that it's too much. It's noticeable. So the slow motion, way back in the day in what's that movie, 300? Mm-hmm. That it all felt like it worked well. Mm-hmm. And nowadays it's just okay, use the slow motion when it really can highlight something that needs to be highlighted. Don't just use it just to throw it in there because it's your thing.
Right.
Don't just, I mean, what is she, Lois Lane comes out of a coffee shop and she's in slow motion and she's setting her coffee down on the ledge. Like, why does that need to be in the movie in the first place? And why does it need to be in slow motion? Like, I don't get it.
Because you have to play that entire Kmart Leonard Cohen song.
Right.
It's like, it's not actually Leonard Cohen, but it's somebody who sounds like him. But there's some.
Yeah, there were some music choices that I didn't get it.
Yeah. So the music is pretty downbeat overall. It is more Leonard Cohen than Hans Zimmer. It's less driving drums or tribal kind of sounds. It kind of feels like it has the same soundtrack to like Leaving Las Vegas,
right,
or something. Something that's like really sad. But it was music was done by Junkie XL. For the Snyder Cut, and it was Danny Elfman for the theatrical cut.
Oh, okay.
So they actually tossed the original soundtrack and stuff.
Totally. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
And Danny Elfman did the first Batman movie, so kind of think of that kind of soundscape, orchestra, kind of like, like big sounds. That was for the theatrical cut, but it was much more, like less score, more songs.
Right. It was more songs, yeah.
Yeah, and it really changed the tone. Like if you look at the trailer, the first trailer, like way back, what was it, 40 years ago for the trailer for the theatrical
about
version?
that, yeah.
It has a scene of Aquaman walking down a pier to these enormous waves, and it's set to White Stripes.
Oh wow!
And it gives it a very like punk rock and roll. I don't give a fuck. Walking off into the ocean vibe. And then you get to the Snyder Cut, and it's set to this really sad music about being numb to the world and all this stuff, and it gives it a very, very different feel. Like that long slow motion walk, is very different. It's not quite as triumphant as it was before. So yeah, I think that contributed a lot to the overall downer vibe.
Yeah, for sure. And you want your music to not be noticeable, but noticeable at the same time, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. And
exactly. You
don't want it to stand out and be like, why is this playing this way? Like, why this song? Why this sound? Why this tone? And
right.
So, I mean, both movies had their problems with music, I think. I noticed the music too much. I don't like to notice it. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is that during our watching of it, is we pointed out the music a number of times. Like, why is this being played here? Like, this is really weird.
Yeah.
Or kind of forcing an emotion. It's like, okay, we really need to nail down that this is sad, or we really need to nail down that this is eerie. Or there's a scene fairly early on. Again, we're in the non-spoiler section, but it's fairly early on where there's a group of women singing right after Aquaman jumps into the ocean, and it's like a weird scene, and it feels like something out of like The Wicker Man.
Yeah.
And they're like surrounding Bruce, and we were just confused. So yeah, like on that point, there's specifically a scene that stuck out to us as we were watching it, and it's when Barry and Bruce are driving away from Barry's like warehouse / apartment / like Ninja Turtle lair thing.
Oh, in that crazy Mercedes or whatever it was.
Right. So it was cool. Yeah. And right as they get in, some drums kick in, and it stuck out, and I commented like, oh, okay, we finally get to have a fun moment. Like, here we go.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And then the scene is immediately over, and we hold on a billboard for suicide prevention.
Right.
And listen, I completely understand where the messaging is coming from, and I don't know if that scene meant something specific to Zack Snyder, but if not, like maybe move that to like a different part of the movie, because like you finally get like this little bit of like, oh, here's two characters you like, and they're gonna have a fun drive off. Oh no, we're all gonna be sad again.
Right.
Like I understand the sentiment, all that stuff, but
why then? At that moment,
right then, like you're like, oh well, this is neat. Oh,
yeah, the music didn't match up to the message at the end of the scene.
And it cuts right then. Like right as they drive off, it cuts, and you're left with kind of like this quiet, like long hold.
Yeah.
And then you transition, and that's one of those holds where you're like, okay, like I get it. Like why are we right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like even in the moments where there's an opportunity to have a little bit of light, fun there, it's like hammered back home. Like, no, we're sad.
We're sad.
Right.
This is a sad movie. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So another thing that was cut from the Joss, the theatrical cut versus the Snyder cut was, do you remember the random Russian family who was like one of the focal points of the theatrical cut?
Yeah, that whole thing was cut out. Yeah.
Completely gone.
Yep.
So that was a Joss framing device. It was just to kind of like show the stakes, but like in a really intimate way and a quick way.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're cutting out half of a movie, you got to get creative with those framing devices.
Yeah, he had to give Barry something to do, even though he was immediately outshone by Superman.
Well, that was actually, I think the reason for it was they had to get Superman out, because he in the theatrical cut, he just handles Steppenwolf.
Right.
It's no biggie. Like he just comes in there, whap, and he's done. So you kind of needed a reason for the rest of the Justice League to be fighting Steppenwolf while Superman's doing something else.
Right.
So they send him out to like lift that building or whatever. But that whole town story was added on afterwards. It was It was completely out of the Snyder cut. Like they just cut to the Chernobyl site, and that's where he's going to build, a little fortress or whatever. But there's no one there. But in the theatrical cut, there's like a bunch of people there.
It's abandoned for reasons. Yes.
Right.
And I think the theatrical cut doesn't even talk about why that spot was chosen. It doesn't talk about using the tainted, poisoned land as fuel for building. It doesn't talk about any of that in the theatrical cut.
They mention it briefly in the sense that...
Do that? See, I don't even remember.
Right. I mean, because it was such an odd thing to place in, but they said, that it was this cursed kind of, place. It was like a Chernobyl kind of place. And then I think it's Barry asks, like, why would anyone live there? And then Aquaman says, because they have no other choice or whatever. So it's supposed to push some sympathy on that group, like right away.
Right.
And then that they're caught in the crossfire, and that's why Superman has to go do something else instead of just kill Steppenwolf immediately.
Yeah, you're right.
I personally...
It was shoehorned and sucked.
Okay, so that leads to my question. I didn't miss that part. Did you miss that framing device at all?
I didn't miss it at all. I noticed that it was not there, and I was super happy it wasn't there because it was stupid.
It wasn't actually until after we watched it, as I was going through, the old version. There was this whole other subplot of this family that was completely missing.
Didn't miss it at all.
No, I didn't either. So more on just less of the story, but more of the film itself. Did you find the 4:3 ratio distracting?
At first, my gut reaction. I mean, we've lived in the age of widescreen for how long now?
Long time.
Yeah, and you and I come from an era, from the before 4 time, when we had to watch. That was the only option. Tube TVs were square, and that was it. So seeing that, my gut reaction at first was like, fuck, I don't want to watch this shit. Like, I want widescreen, right? But as the movie went on, he totally didn't even think about it. It just went away.
I was surprised. I actually didn't even notice it from the get-go.
Oh, really?
I honestly didn't. It was afterwards, I was going through it again. I was like, oh, yeah. And I don't know if it's because I watched it, in kind of a dark room, and so the black bars on the side weren't that noticeable, but I didn't notice it at all. I was surprised. When I saw the trailer in 4:3, I remember going to like 3 different YouTube pages going like, why is this cut? Is this cut for like mobile or something? And then reading that, no, the whole movie is going to be in 4:3. I was like, oh, this is going to be weird. But no, I didn't find it distracting.
At first, yes, but no. Ultimately, it didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Although I did see on Reddit, somebody was complaining about it, and somebody came in, or a bunch of people came in, saying that that's the ratio of IMAX, and I don't recall that being an IMAX ratio at all. I've seen a few IMAX things, and it's not a square. Like the one I saw was a huge wraparound screen. It was really intimidating. So I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe there are movies in that ratio in IMAX, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, I actually went down this rabbit hole too, because I remember the same thing. Like I've been to, there was an IMAX theater in Sacramento. When
Absolutely.
we lived there. We saw stuff in IMAX.
Absolutely.
So an IMAX screen is actually significantly taller, but that is not typically used. Okay. That vertical space is still not typically used. So this for, I guess, I don't know if it's all IMAX theaters, but a full size IMAX screen is almost a square.
Oh, wow.
But they're only using, so like Interstellar is a good example where most of it is in the 16 by 9 regular widescreen, and then in the space shots it shifts up into an IMAX resolution. So now you lose the black bars on the top and bottom, and that was for the space scenes to make it seem more expansive and things like that. But I think in an IMAX theater you can actually go more vertical, but you just don't. But the space is available. And Snyder, for some reason, this was the vision that he wanted. I don't know if he had originally shot in 16:9 and then cut it in 4:3, or designed the shots in 4:3. But I didn't find myself missing much. But it would be interesting to see this on like a full size IMAX screen to see if it really does stand out.
If it makes sense on a screen like that, when you're there in person at an IMAX screen, okay. I'm on the flip side. I'd actually like to see a cut of this with, widescreen format.
Yeah, I wonder how quickly that's going to be available, because somebody's going to cut it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It bothered me only at first, and I literally forgot about it being in that ratio within 10 minutes. It didn't matter.
Now, originally, he also wanted to do this in black and white. Do you think that would have been too much?
I would not have liked that, I don't think.
Because I'm thinking of like, Sin City, as a stylized, high contrast, CGI-ish black and white. And that's
the books are in black and white,
right? Yeah.
And it's a Frank Miller super stylized art, and he had splashes of color for emphasis, and it all worked well in the book. So when they did the movie, it made sense, and it worked really well. They did an awesome job. So seeing a Justice League movie or any comic book movie that is traditionally in color, I don't think I would have liked it in black and white at all.
I would imagine some of the action scenes would get kind of confusing.
Yeah, I mean, colors, delineate between different people's powers.
Yeah.
Good guys and bad guys have different color sets. I think that would have not been good. I wouldn't have liked that.
Yeah, because the color is desaturated, but it's not. I mean, you can still see Superman's blue.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman's red, and you can see those splashes of color that you need to see what's going on in some of the scenes that aren't in slow motion. But if you are curious, I saw either last night or this morning that there is now a black and white version streaming on HBO. So there is a black and white cut.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to check it out. I'd like to see, like the first 10 minutes or something, in it, just to see how it feels.
Or even just skip to the action, skip to the action scenes and see if it was edited enough in black and white to make shit decipherable, stand apart, I probably won't. I don't want to. I don't know. I just stick with color. It's superheroes and stuff. I want to see all the crazy, cool powers and light effects and sparklies and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting concept. I think that's what interests me more than anything else. Is just how do you do this in black and white, and is it effective? And if it is, then I'll be impressed. Because I wouldn't think that it would be. I'll probably give it a quick peek. Maybe we'll talk about it on a later episode. Then I'll say, I saw it and it was weird. It was like that David Lynch movie with the monkey.
Oh, jeez. That was so fucking weird.
That reminds me, that's got to be a hold this item at some point. I love that movie.
I'd be down. We could watch that too,
Yeah, we should do a commentary on that. I think it's like 20 minutes. It'd be much easier. All right. Okay. So what do you think about it being cut into 6 parts?
I don't know. I mean, I think that was kind of an unnecessary thing to show. Part 1, okay, we've all watched movies before. I think most movie watchers understand that, there's acts showing the part, why it's a 4-hour movie in 6 parts. Why not a 4-hour movie in 4 parts? Or I don't know if it was to try and break up the time, like an intermission kind of thing. This is a 4-hour movie, so part 1 is done, take a break.
Snyder actually said he always intended it to be in parts and with a proper matinee in the middle. So and he said the original idea was gonna be 4 hours, so after 2 hours you need an actual matinee. I mean, an actual 10 minutes or something. Go get up, stretch your legs, use the restroom, things like that. But I was wondering if finding out that it was intended to be in parts makes sense, because I wasn't sure if it was because the movie was so long or because the story was kind of so broad. I mean, it goes back
Right.
kind of a ways and then takes us all the way into an alternate future. You know, it's so
Right.
it's a pretty wide story to tell. So it to me, it made sense to break it up kind of into chapters.
But like maybe 4 chapters or 2, you know, first half, second half.
Once you get to like part 4, you start to like look forward to those breaks. like, oh God, it's okay. Pause, everybody. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna refill my coffee. I'm gonna get a snack.
They were definitely good pause points, you know.
I personally appreciated them. And then so this one went a lot further into the mother box explanation, you know, kind of what they were, how they tie into everything in the DC cinematic universe. Do you feel like you got a satisfying explanation of what the mother boxes are from this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, good enough for me. For a person who watches comic book movies and reads comic books and is really into sci-fi and fantasy, you know, anything that was left out didn't stand out to me, I guess. My brain or my imagination can kind of just fill in the gaps if need be.
Right.
But I mean, they didn't really do a good job of really explaining where they came from, like the history of them, you know, they billions of years old. Well,
Right.
Is it technology or are they living
Right.
things? Like, you know, they're not good, they're not bad. That's what they said in the Snyder Cut. But then when, I guess this might be spoilers, so maybe I wait until the next part. But there is something that happens in the Snyder Cut with the mother boxes and Cyborg that doesn't quite add up,
Right.
visually compared to what was said about them. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few things that I guess kind of make me go but overall, yeah, it's fine.
So by contrast, because mother boxes are kind of similar to the Infinity Stones
Right.
with the MCU. By contrast, do you think that the Infinity Stones were better developed?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, DC/Warner Brothers' biggest mistake was trying to rush this whole deal. You know,
Yeah.
when they made Man of Steel, which is fantastic, and you and I have to watch that soon because you haven't seen it yet.
No, because I was scared off of it.
Right.
So many people told me there was so many things wrong with it. I never even bothered. But then you,
No,
someone I actually trust, is like, no, it's amazing. What's wrong with you?
no, it's awesome.
So yeah, I would love to. Yeah, we're gonna do that.
I get the complaints about that movie, but at the same time, like, Zack Snyder was going for a different tone. It's not a one-to-one conversion of Superman in the comics to Superman on screen. So
Right.
we can get into that later, but definitely, I mean, the Infinity Stones, you know, Marvel took 10 years. You got a backstory for all of the stones.
Going back to the first, I think it's the first Avengers movie where Loki has the Mind Stone.
Right.
But no one says anything about it. Like, you know, he's got it in his staff and he's making people do what he wants them to do. And it seems kind of goofy and comic booky that, you know, oh, I'm just going to tap you with my magic staff and now you're evil. But then, you know, cut to 10 years later, it's like, oh yeah, that made sense. There's a gamble to take, but
they tied it all up, and then they have multiple different people going after different stones for different reasons, and so there's history for each stone. You know, could it have been better? Could they have fleshed it out more? Of course, but DC or Warner Brothers or whatever, you know, the Justice League stories stuff has been just rushed. You know, there's no standalone. I mean, Marvel did standalone movies for almost everybody, right?
When I read that they were doing a Guardians of the Galaxy, I thought, okay, that's it. We're done. Like you've bitten off more than you could chew. There's no way you're going to make these characters likable. This is a 70s throwaway
fantastic
comic that no one cares about. One of the main characters is a raccoon. What are you thinking?
Right.
And it's one of their biggest properties. And that has Infinity Stones all throughout it.
Yep.
So if you even just liked them, you knew what the Infinity Stones were. So yeah, that was one of my concerns going in. So in the theatrical cut, in the beginning, Batman is luring a parademon with a cat burglar who's scared because parademons are attracted to fear. So Batman's like using this guy as bait. And then the parademon comes, Batman kills it, and it explodes. And for some reason leaves the design of 3 mother box shapes in its blood.
Yeah.
And Batman is able to decipher that into Darkseid.
Yeah. Why does that make sense? That is so stupid.
So the first theatrical cut, I was like, I don't know what any of this is. Like, and I know this stuff.
Right.
I don't know what's going on at all. So I was particularly curious in this version how they were going to handle the mother boxes. And they went much, much, much further into it.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I kind of know what the DC CU version of the mother box is, but still not really.
Still not really. It's just this mysterious thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do to develop a story that is essentially billions of years old without actually going into the past and introducing characters to explain it? They didn't take the time.
Right.
You know, and that really sucks because Marvel did it right. They had this plan and it was the long game. You know, they played the long game and they did it so good.
Yeah.
And then DC's like, we got to get on that shit. Let's just out a bunch of stuff and see what sticks. And nothing really stuck. You know, it's nothing but jokes and memes.
And Universal tried to do that with their Universal Monsters universe. And they did 2 movies, and then
nope.
You know, they already had a big intro, and they had their big crossover event plan. It's like, you have to make people give a shit about these characters first. Like, you can't just assume that they're going to go along with it.
Right. Well, Marvel took 10 years to do it. If we do it in 1 or 2, that's fine, right? No.
And I get the idea. It's like the audience is primed for this stuff now. Marvel was building an audience. You know, they had to get people. And again, as a comic book fan, when I found out they were making an Iron Man movie, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? Like, Iron Man? Really, 3rd tier Avenger? That's who you're going to start your universe with? That's a terrible idea. And you're going to have Robert Downey Jr., a guy who can't finish a movie because he's such a mess. That's your guy? What is going on? None of it made sense. And then it worked out gangbusters. And now everyone's like, because Marvel made those inroads, everyone's trying to hop onto the express lane.
Everybody is primed for Marvel. Everybody's primed for those characters. Nobody's primed to find out what happens to Arthur Curry. You know, they like Jason Momoa. They don't give a fuck about Aquaman. Like, there's no history there to care about.
Right. And now to this point, like, I had to think for a moment. He's not Tony Stark. He's Robert Downey Jr. He was so perfect in that role that's who you were going to see. Was no, that's my Tony Stark. Like, I have to go see what happens to Tony Stark next. Where some of these characters, you're like, I don't even like these characters. Like, I don't care where they're going.
I think, though, too, that, you know, it's the actors have to embrace. I think that, you know, getting into the Marvel universe after about, 3-4 years, a lot of actors understood that was like going to be their life forever.
Yeah.
And some people don't want to do that. And so if they do not so good of a job, people aren't going to want to see him back again. And then you get people that are playing Superman who revere the character and are giant nerds like us. You're one of us kind of guy. And Henry Cavill, he takes it super serious, and then everybody around him is just trying to make a quick buck on the wave. You know, that's why he goes and he does The Witcher, and everybody was like, nah, Henry Cavill can't be The Witcher. And then he's the fucking perfect Witcher. It's because he loves it.
And he's one of the highlights of this movie.
Oh yeah, Henry Cavill is awesome. Man crush, totally. But then again, it's like he's surrounded by people who make horrible decisions because the DCU was rushed, and it sucks that it was rushed.
Yeah, and we don't even see him for the first half.
Right.
You know? So I think that will be a good transition into our spoilers section. So now we're going to get into a little bit more detail. And I thought that could be a good starting point. Is we were talking about Cyborg, and he has a greatly expanded role in this version.
Yeah,
the movie is
a lot more.
This is the Cyborg movie. I mean, this is his origin, his hero's journey to, you know, the very end. I mean, like, this revolves pretty heavily around him.
Yeah, even Miles Dyson is totally expanded upon. Cyborg's dad, his name's not Miles Dyson in the movie, people. That's what I know him as. He's Miles Dyson from Terminator 2. But
always making Terminators.
Exactly. God, this guy, every movie making Terminators. But you know, even he was expanded upon greatly in the Snyder Cut. You know, the theatrical cut, it's just this little blip okay, he's a heartbroken dad. Great. No, we get to know that family way more.
Yeah, Cyborg's origin in the theatrical cut is a window in a window on a screen.
On Bruce Wayne's screen, yeah.
Cut in half with robot parts stuck to him. Like that's Cyborg's origin story.
Yeah.
In the theatrical cut. In the Snyder cut, I mean, you get hours with Cyborg. Like, it's a really heavily developed character, and their family dynamic and how that all shook out. But like you were saying, he has an interaction, and again, we're in the spoilers section, so we're gonna talk about some end stuff here. He had an interaction with the mother boxes. He's like the key to the mother box part of this story, and I have a vague idea of what happened there.
Like near the end when he was like inside of the mother boxes,
right? So you mentioned earlier that there was a scene that you specifically wanted to call out, but you said it was in spoilers. So let's jump to that. To me, it was a scene with the mother boxes and the three heads and the Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about. So
that's the one.
What was happening there?
I don't know. So they say. At some point in the Snyder Cut, they say how the mother boxes are billions of years old and they're not good nor evil. Mm-hmm. They are change. They're change engines. All they do is make something else or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. They change something. The user can change what he wants in the way he wants to change it. So that's it. They're not good. They're not bad. So at the end there, when they're trying to split the mother boxes apart, and the whole plan is to get Cyborg kind of shoved in there forcefully to start the process of splitting them apart from the inside. They're shown as these like creatures. So instead of it being just like some kind of crazy unimaginable computer scape, because they're shown as like technology, they're actually shown he's like inside this weird realm where there are these creatures, like entities. So the mother boxes must be some kind of life form, and the three heads that he's splitting apart are these gnarly looking evil creatures, snapping and gnawing and like kind of ghostly like shade creatures. Like they're creatures that look and are acting very evil, and that goes against what they said. Why would they? Okay, so they're fighting him off to not be split because the unity is a big deal, and they like that. But like, if they're not evil, how come they were depicted as such?
Yeah, they look pretty scary.
Yeah, they were very scary, very evil.
Yeah, and originally I thought, at least in the theatrical cut, they were more presented as like just a terraforming machine. Yeah,
like not an entity. Yeah,
right. When these were activated by the user, whatever user needed to utilize the tool, it would just terraform whatever planet it was on to match what the user needed.
Yeah, they would change. Yeah,
right. And then in this, they're a very different thing. It's like a philosophical entity.
Yes, yeah, very much a living thing. Yeah, which is fine in and of itself. That concept is fine.
I was down with it.
The idea of sentient technology is not new, but then don't say they're not evil or good, and then depict them as these horrible, awful specter-like creatures who are trying to kill Cyborg when he's in there. It's just, I don't know, that kind of stood out to me. It's not a huge deal, but it was one of those things where it's like, why do they look like that? I thought they weren't supposed to be evil.
Yeah, because like you never get that from the Infinity Stones. They never seem to have an opinion on who is who's got them. It's just if you can get them all together, then you have this enormous source of power. But that's it. They don't seem to have any preference on how they're used.
Yeah, just an immeasurable source of power in the form of a stone that can be used by the user as they see fit. That's it. It's just a tool. It's just a wrench.
Yeah. And so I know that neither of us go too terribly deep on the Cyborg character in the comics.
No.
But did you find this representation, more interesting than the comic counterpart?
I mean, the guy who played Cyborg, he did a really great job. I know that he was really, what is his name?
Ray Fisher. Yeah.
Ray Fisher. I know that he was super pissed,
Yeah.
and a lot of people were pissed that his stuff was cut.
Man,
and
I can understand why now.
yeah, absolutely.
Jeez.
After seeing the amount of work that was cut, I feel bad for the guy. Like, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, when he was first talking about it, it was like, all right, I could see being disappointed.
Yeah,
in a badly
my part got cut. Yeah,
edited, right? And in in a big character ensemble piece, sometimes that happens. But yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, imagine thinking this huge epic movie's about you, and then you go to see it. It's like you're barely in it.
Yeah, totally changed. Yeah, I'm really glad that he was in the movie he was supposed to be in.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. And he's seen this cut. Do you know?
I don't know. I have a Twitter account, but I'm not on it. I have no idea if he said anything about it.
Yeah, I'm curious what his thoughts are, because it's a very it's a very different movie.
I mean, you could almost call it the Cyborg movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's really a showcase for
Yeah.
that character. He's an integral part
Yeah.
of everything.
Right.
And and he's fleshed out way more. So yeah.
And speaking of expanded roles, Steppenwolf, visually an improvement.
So much better.
I like the suit. I like the facial features. But man, those eyes.
They were puppy dog eyes.
They were Puss in Boots from Shrek eyes.
Right.
Like they were
Right.
no joke. He looked like one of those paintings of those big-eyed kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
his eye, if it was a close up of his face, he was kind of cuddly.
he was.
Yeah.
He was, and I don't know if that was meant to kind of defang that character or make you sympathize with him, because one of the big bits of the Thanos character is a lot of people could side with that character. He wasn't inherently evil; he was just misguided in a pursuit for general population management. Like, it was kind of a boring villain, but it to a lot of people it made sense. So I don't know if they were trying to go for something like that. Like, let's make this villain a little bit more sympathetic, because he's very weak. I mean, he's physically strong, but the whole character arc is he's trying desperately to get Darkseid to like him.
Yeah.
It's not a I'm here to destroy you all. It's like, I'm here to destroy you so that this guy will like me. I hope he likes me.
It's like I gotta get back in Daddy's good graces. He mentions that Desaad character mentions him betraying
something.
Darkseid, and I don't think it's mentioned at all what he's done.
Right.
And so this whole thing is like, well, I have 50,000 more worlds to destroy and or conquer. Mm-hmm. But this one happens to have the anti-life equation on it, Daddy. So I'm going to go ahead and get it for you.
Right.
And that doesn't, if they were trying to go for sympathetic, it doesn't work.
Right. Because it's a
you know
weird
what
mix.
I mean?
Yeah. Like it was a mix of dislike and pity.
Yeah. Pity. Yeah. Loathing, but pitiful.
It's like I almost wanted him to conquer the world just to so he wouldn't cry.
Right.
It's a weird all right, it's going to be all right, buddy. Listen.
Yeah, if they were going for a visual, empathetic type of vibe, it only made it stand out that he had puppy dog eyes in a monster suit.
Yeah, it was kind of a confusing aesthetic.
The overall aesthetic, the overall change, he's much more alien.
Yeah.
It's the same voice actor, but a lot more modulation on his voice. It sounds really cool. Mm-hmm. It almost sounds like he stuffed a bunch of cotton into his face and tried to say his lines. And I like it though. Like, I thought it was really neat. It's like an alien whose mouth isn't like ours trying to speak English.
Right.
Which is really funny that everybody in the past speaks perfect English. I don't fucking get what that's all about.
The ancient Greek gods are shouting to each other in modern English.
Yeah, exactly. Like, huh? Well, you're supposed to assume that it's, well, then just have them speak Greek or something like that and put fucking, subtitles up. Like, I'd rather that than just, a Greek god speaking English without an accent. Fuck.
So, speaking of, another greatly expanded role is a Darkseid's actually in this movie.
Yeah, Darkseid's actually in it rather than just his Omega symbol logo on the ground in some kind of fever dream.
In a confusing dream within a dream.
Right.
His first time on Earth Like, he comes with this huge armada, and then he gets defeated by like our lawyer and a really strong guy with an axe.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Which, if you listen to our commentary track, there's a point where there is a character who comes up who looks shockingly like our lawyer. To the point where I think it might be him, because sometimes he does.
Yeah, you might need to give him a call and be like, dude, why are you moonlighting as an actor without telling us?
Yeah, were you in the Snyder Cut? That was Ares, by the way, the guy with the axe who chops into Darkseid in the shoulder. So,
the god of war. Darkseid
is defeated by an axe and then never tries to come back.
Yeah, it scared him so bad. He's supposed to be the equivalent of Thanos, I guess. And,
right.
Yeah.
But they made him look scared. I did appreciate that. Like, when he gets the axe, like when they pull him into his ship, he's looking like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it out of this one.
Yeah, he's terrified. He's bleeding out. He's dying. Yeah, he got wrecked, you know?
But that was it. He like learned his lesson. He's like, nope, not coming back. Done and done. I don't have a big revenge plot. I don't have, they don't say why he was there in the first place, just that he was conquering worlds.
He's just conquering worlds, I guess, yeah.
But yeah, it's like you said, it's only after Steppenwolf tells him that the anti-life equation was probably there because he saw it in a dream. Which, I don't know if I would go to my boss with that. Like, I think it's here. I had a dream about it. Like, yeah, you might want to find it first.
They revere those mother boxes. So, I mean, if it was a premonition or whatever, or a dream because of his interaction with the mother boxes, that's probably why Darkseid would trust it. But agreed. It's like, it's just a hunch, bro.
Yeah, it's like, all right, we'll find it then. Call me back. What are we doing? But that's good enough. And Darkseid does decide to come back. But even then, he watches from the other side of a portal. Like, he doesn't even come through. So it's not quite Thanos style, where Thanos like goes and sits down in the middle of like a crater and he's just like, bring it. Darkseid was like, he essentially watched the fight on TV and then quickly changed the channel when his team started to lose.
Totally. And he's definitely Thanos, in contrast, was very much depicted as this
hands-on,
top tier, ultimate fighter guy, like undefeatable kind of guy. And in the Snyder Cut, Darkseid is shown to be very much vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So by him staying away and letting somebody else do it, it's like, it's a predator who doesn't go after certain things because it's just not worth the risk. If a lion loses his eye, he can't hunt as well, kind of deal.
To me, it made him as a penultimate villain a little less intimidating.
Absolutely.
Like the fact that he won't even come over, like, no, it's good. I'll come back later.
Yeah. No, he wasn't as intimidating as I would hoped.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of his look. His shoulders are surprisingly narrow.
Yeah, he's kind of a small guy.
It's a weird look. Yeah, it's a strange look. I'm not a huge fan of it. Darkseid in the comic books, he has a few different looks, but there's some really amazing Darkseid versions out there that they could have pulled from, and I'm just not a fan of what they showed us. His chest bone kind of having the shape of his of the anti-life, or not the Omega symbol. I don't like that. It doesn't make sense. I'm not a huge fan of it. But I mean, overall, it was cool.
Yeah,
it was nice that he was actually in it. That was good.
Right. I did appreciate seeing him, but yeah, it had a different effect because when we first see Thanos, he's a terrible like CGI.
Oh yeah,
California
that was a long
raisin.
time ago too. Right.
But when we first see him, I think it's in Infinity War, he just strides onto a ship that is already destroyed, full of people that we know are incredibly powerful.
Right.
And they're just wrecked. They're in pieces on the floor. And then we get our most powerful character, the Hulk, who's always supposed to run in and save the day, just gets his ass handed to him. And in that 4-minute opening of Infinity War, we established that Thanos is an incredibly intimidating figure and is probably indestructible,
right,
flat out the gate.
Yep.
And in this, I feel like one really good, like if there's an Eagle Scout who has their archery badge, they could probably take out Darkseid.
Oh, right. Yeah. Granted, it was a Earth-based god that stuck his axe into him.
Sure.
But I mean, the hero Superman is an Earth-based god, so it should be no problem for him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was a little weird. And then Steppenwolf is dispatched, at that end fight, and is done in by Wonder Woman, which is one of the rated R points. So that's one of the things that they got the R rating for, was her Mortal Kombat finishing move,
right,
on Steppenwolf.
Yeah, the jump off and the sword, the decapitation.
But even before that, Superman like just laser eyes one of his horns off. That was rough. and then he's beheaded by Wonder Woman, and then his head is crushed by Darkseid when it goes through the portal.
Yeah,
was that too much?
No, it wasn't enough.
Oh, those big old sad eyes. I felt bad when he got crushed. I was like, oh, I like that guy.
No, I want more displays of power from these literal cosmically powered super beings. I want more destruction. I want more displays of that kind of strength. It gets annoying to watch certain things and have it be just like, that's it. Like, this guy can move the sun and he's not going to do anything cool. Like, come on, show it. And that's actually why I'm so disappointed with Endgame and the Hulk.
Right.
But that's a story for another time, I guess.
Yeah, listeners, because it's a long story. Listen, we don't have another 4 hours to talk about why Jeremy is disappointed with Endgame.
So disappointed.
Why did we both think it was pronounced Dark Seed? It's Dark Side.
It's Dark Side.
Right. How have I been pronouncing it this whole time? Have I been pronouncing it Dark Seed?
I've been saying dark. Have we? I don't even know. I wasn't even thinking about it until just now. But my entire life,
yes,
I've been saying Darkseid.
Right. So have I.
Because it's SEID, and in my brain I see seed.
Right. If they would have pronounced it with maybe a little like alien to it, like Dark Side or CDD or something like. Okay, but yeah, right out the gate it was like, it's Dark Side. It's like
Dark Side.
Oh, really? Like we both said it at the same time. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Dark. 40 years later.
Yeah.
I thought it was Dark
40
Seed.
years, man. Darkseid. I think I'm always going to say it in my head. I'll try.
I think we've been saying Darkseid this whole time.
Yeah. Well,
I want to go back now, but I'll find out when I edit this. But yeah. So in the movie, it's Darkseid. In our heads, it's Darkseid.
Darkseid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually prefer Darkseid. Not Darkseid.
Darkseid's so direct. It's like saying oh, our villain's name is Bad Guy. Like
bad. Yeah. Joker's evil clown.
Right. Yeah. You could do a second draft.
Right. There was a lot of lines. You did say many times throughout this movie. That's first draft shit.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a.
There's a lot of cheese lines for sure.
I felt like this affected the Flash the most because, like, I like his character.
Sure,
I really do. But I think it's easy to go too far with him when you only write one draft of dialogue. Like, I think if you would have gone back, watch some dailies, see how it actually. Yeah. Because sometimes your words are beautiful written, and then you read them, or an actor reads them, and you realize that you're George Lucas. And so, like, you need to have somebody rewrite your shit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that opening Flash scene. So, one, that's Iris West he's saving. So, future wife of Barry Allen. I didn't know that. But that's who is flipping with odd physics through the air.
Yeah. Oh, man, I don't understand. Yeah, go on.
There was a good 30 seconds in our watching it where Jeremy's just like, nope, that's the wrong angle. Nope.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That's not how that works. That is not physics. This is how none of this works. Yes.
And so it's
very strange.
This is one of those scenes that should be in slow motion, right?
Absolutely.
This is where you'd want to use that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I really had no idea what he was going to do with that hot dog. Because we were pretty early on in the movie. Like, if this was the Jaws cut, he would have stuck it in her nose or something, and then like I had no idea. But I thought that was overall a good scene. But it ends with this job interview scene that's probably one of the cringiest in the movie.
Sure.
rewrite that dialogue. Like, don't make us hate him right out the gate. Like, he can be charming and nervous and not be like pushy and weird.
Right.
That was definitely one of those moments. I was like, okay, come on, get another writer here.
Yeah, the dialogue didn't bother me as much as some of the visuals. You know, like you mentioned, that car thing just bothered me so bad.
I think I was more focused on the music at the time, so it was like, this is a weird choice of music, and then you were like, none of this design adds up, and then I was just worried about the hot dog, and then the scene was over.
The hot dog was very strange. I mean, it was a fine scene, but there were some cringe things besides the physics. The whole like caressing of her face, like, bro, you don't even know her. What are you doing?
Yeah, it was a little forward.
Yeah.
You
just have to watch it if you haven't. It was not. It was strange. It was strange. Just save her, man. Just save her.
Yeah,
you know? That's it.
Right.
Just save her.
And finding out she's Iris West too. That made it a little more sense to me. Like, okay, it's a love at first sight thing. So he's just like, oh my God, who is this person? She's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, her neck is also breaking right now. I should probably fix this.
Should probably. Yeah.
I'll get her out of this situation. Another quick scene was they added a lantern for a hot second.
Yeah.
There in that beginning, and it was one of those weird fish parrot people.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. Yeah,
I don't know if it was a named character. Oh yeah, but yeah, the species I don't know either. They're weird fish parrot people. But he was able to squeeze off 2 generic laser blasts. When I was rewatching it, in one of the frames, he does have a hammer. He does make a hammer.
Okay. Yeah, I don't recall seeing the hammer. It was those generic laser beams, like you said. It's like you're gonna put a lantern on screen and you're just gonna have him fire a straight green beam
twice.
It's the most powerful weapon in the universe, and you're just gonna do that? What?
And then get their arm ripped off.
Right.
Like immediately. Like, I get why you do it, because it's like, hey, look, it's a lantern. But I mean, if you have a lantern, like, you should have been able to handle that whole thing.
Yeah, you could have, as the filmmakers, it's not a lantern movie. Maybe that's the argument. It's not a lantern movie. Okay, fine. But if you're going to show the lantern, show what quickly, even if he dies, show him what the lantern is meant to be able to do.
Right.
And maybe somebody who's never seen the lantern, they'll be like, whoa, what was that? I want to know more about that, rather than just some fish guy shooting a green laser beam.
Right. That's what I thought was kind of disappointing. Is like, you have this infinite canvas with this one character, even if it's going to be a 5-second scene. And if you want to rip the arm off, all right, like that's a good way to take out that problem. But he has another hand.
Right.
I mean, the ring it should have just flown over to his other hand, shouldn't it? Unless he was dead. If he's dead, then the ring flies off and it finds the next user.
Right, it flies off. Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice.
It was just a missed opportunity.
I agree. Yeah, that's all it is. It didn't take anything away from the movie, but I remember when we were watching it was like, oh, sweet, it's a lantern. Oh, okay, well, that was it. All right, well, that was...
that was it, yeah.
Martian Manhunter has another kind of small role in this, who didn't really have a role in the theatrical cut. Can you remind me why he was impersonating Martha Kent? Was it just to tell Lois that she lost the farm and is moving above a diner?
No idea. Another thing that was just shoehorned in that could have been minutes, off of the movie completely. Like even Martian Manhunter at the end when he goes and introduces himself to Bruce Wayne. We didn't need that. There was no reason for it.
No, I agree. That was one of the weaker scenes to me. And that scene with Bruce at the end, when Martian Manhunter goes to meet him, that was filmed recently. That was filmed just a few months ago.
Oh, really?
Which also explains why Ben Affleck looks so different.
Right.
Like, he looks 5 years older because he's 5 years older.
Because it's literally 5 years later or whatever. Oh, no, it's not 5 years, but yeah. Or is it? I don't even know.
I mean, if they filmed it a few months ago and it was probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Jesus.
I think that's also why they made it like he just woke up out of bed. Is, you can look a little puffy and disheveled if you just got out of bed. But man, you could have cut that whole scene. There was nothing in that scene that was necessary. What did you think about the character design
of Martian Manhunter? Wasn't great.
I knew who it was right away, but I wasn't like, oh, it's a sweet, yeah.
he was immediately recognizable. I'm going to look him up here, Snyder Cut, just to get it fresh in my brain because we watched it a little while ago or 2 days ago or whatever.
Yeah, we watched it 2 days ago and you can't even remember. He looks that generic.
That's not good. Like, I'm looking at it right now. It's not good. It's not a good look.
Now, while you're doing that, look up the CW Supergirl version, and I like that version better.
So, okay, CW, see Martian Manhunter. Yeah, oh, okay. I did see this. Yeah, that is better.
Isn't that weird? Like, the CW version is better than the Warner Brothers version.
Yeah, it is better. Yeah, I'm looking at it for sure.
It's weird, right?
Trying to get a full body shot, like more of a head shot.
And I really felt robbed when Martian Manhunter called himself by his super name.
Right.
Because I really wanted to know how they pronounced John Jones. Like, it should be John Jones, but maybe we've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time.
I know. Maybe it's
John
Winston. Maybe it's John Winston. Maybe it's Jeffrey
Burt Hansfield. I don't know how we got John Jones out of it.
Exactly. I mean, the Martian Manhunter comic book version is pretty straightforward. It's basically a green human with, a bigger brow bone. There's a few different versions of him, but yeah, the Joss Whedon version, the Snyder Cut version of him is overly complicated. Like, what's all that shit on his face? Why are there so many lines on his face? Why are there so many ridges? He's got so many ridges. Yeah. Even his like his skin, like his shoulders that are exposed, have the same kind of weird callousy, scaly lines on it. It's very strange, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I didn't know part of it was appealing to me. Like,
no.
And you can do full alien suits and it be appealing. Like I think of
absolutely.
In the first Hellboy movie, the Abe Sapien makeup, and that's a guy in a suit, and he looks completely alien. And it's
Doug Jones. Whoop, whoop.
The Doug Jones is an incredible performer, and that probably has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah.
But you can get away with that and not hit that uncanny valley weirdness of like, I don't like this. This looks wet all the time. I don't know why. But with Abe Sapien, it's like it made sense.
Yeah, he's supposed to be wet all the time. Yeah, no, I totally am with you. The Martian Manhunter stuff was totally useless. It didn't add anything at all.
Yeah,
and it's making the viewer ask a question that is probably never going to be answered. They're not going to do a sequel of this.
Right.
They didn't make enough money off of it. It's the ship has sailed. So,
and speaking of the scene with Luthor and Deathstroke on the yacht, that's another. I didn't need that.
No,
scene.
Totally throwaway.
But it was apparently included as a glimpse of what the DC cinematic universe was supposed to look like going forward. But Zack Snyder said he has no intention of working on a sequel, so it probably won't go anywhere. It was just there to like show some more character designs. Like that was really it.
I mean, if that was the whole purpose, with zero intentions, it really could have shaved a lot of time off this movie.
I honestly think it was put in just so you knew who Deathstroke was at the end scene.
But
I think that's it. But I mean, you could have left that in as just another character. In that scene in the theatrical cut. I think he talks about forming the Legion of Doom. I don't think he calls it that, but he's like, they have a club. I think we should have a club.
Right.
Yeah.
And
in that, the theatrical version, that was like, I think that might have been the Stinger scene. That might have been the post-credit scene. But is it hard to care about Lex Luthor after we spend 4 hours fighting space monsters?
Right.
Because like Lex is always running some like real estate scam, or he's robbing banks or whatever. Like, who cares? Like, you could probably let Bruce Wayne's lawyers handle Lex Luthor. Like, that's probably like, I'm just wondering, is it to go to Luthor at the end of all that? It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about this guy. Who cares about this guy? Like,
the stakes dealing with what the Justice League was dealing with is so much on a grander scale that like the threat of little Mr. Insane was like, so what? Like, who cares?
Yeah, you got a yacht. Cool.
It makes no sense to throw him in there. Again, it's just another shoehorn thing. To pad it out, and it didn't really add anything to the story. I think what you said is right. It was thrown in to make the future vision more understandable.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess even that future vision wasn't even necessary. If you wanted to really get down to it, we didn't need to see that either.
No.
Because all that's doing is setting up a possible sequel that we'll never see.
Right.
It has nothing to do at all
Right.
with what's happening in the movie. It's
Right.
completely a different, it's not Darkseid that they're dealing with. It's an evil Superman because Lois dies.
Right.
We don't need to see that in any of these cuts because there's not going to be a follow-up.
Which isn't even explained either, because all I think it's Joker who says because you let her
Joker.
die.
Because you let her die.
Okay,
Yeah.
is it Lois? Is it Wonder Woman? Is it? There's no, because she's not there either. Like, they don't really even, because I was watching someone else talk about, I was watching another YouTube review of the movie, and that person's not familiar with comics at all. The person who was reviewing it, which I that's why I wanted their opinion. As somebody who doesn't know comics, did this make sense to you?
No, it couldn't have. It could not have made sense.
That was essentially the answer.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that he mentioned was like, okay, then there's this sequence at the end, and it's visually striking, and there's a lot going on there. But why is Superman mad? Is that Superman? Is it a different Superman? Is he mad that Wonder Woman dead? Did they let her die? Is that why he's mad? And I was like, oh, you have no idea. Like, you have no idea the whole Injustice storyline that goes.
This person has no clue.
Right. Which, that's a moviegoer. That's a regular. I mean, they do film reviews. Like, it wasn't like just some rando person. This is somebody who studies film, and they were like, I have no idea what's going on.
Right.
So that scene overall, what did you think of it?
Well, the scene overall was fine, I guess. I knew what was going on. I know about the Injustice stuff.
Yeah.
I've read some of the books. I played the video game. Like, I get the storyline. In the storyline, Joker is who tricks Superman into. Is that how it goes? Joker's responsible for Lois dying. And when Lois dies, Superman blows a fuse and basically decides that it's time to get real firm with humanity and the earth in general, and basically becomes a dictator. He starts wiping people out, killing people left and right, heroes or not, and he just starts to kill everything. And so he becomes like the ruler of the world. And that's what they were alluding to in the Snyder Cut was, you let her die. He's talking about Lois. I get that a lot of people wouldn't know what was going on. I liked the Joker. I thought it was cool to see him again. I thought Jared Leto did a really great job with what he was given.
Too. I actually really enjoyed his performance in this. He had his own style.
I'm talking about in the other movie.
Oh, in Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm not happy with the way the Joker was written or his visual in that movie. But
Suicide
I was
Squad.
happy in Suicide Squad.
Got it.
I was very happy with Jared Leto. I mean, he's a good actor, and he played a crazy Joker just fine. I think you take away the tattoos and some of the silliness of the way he looked, so far out of the realm of what Joker's supposed to look like.
Right.
He did a good job. He had a good tone. He had a good laugh. The way he presented his lines, his smile, like his facial stuff was all really good in my opinion. And then so when I saw him pop up in this, it looked great. Like it's post-apocalyptic kind of situation. Everybody's ragged and everybody's just trying to hang in there by the looks of it. And then he's delivering his lines really well. I thought it was good.
I agree. I actually really enjoyed that scene. It's a problem in our commentary because there's like a 3-minute dead spot of both of us just listening to him
watching.
But I liked that scene. It was, again, it's a confusing scene. It's a post-apocalyptic scene, but in the theatrical cut, it's implied that that's due to Darkseid in this movie.
Right.
It's implied there, but in this, it is a Superman who has completely ravaged the planet. I don't really know. And then, is Joker a prisoner? Is he a part of their team? Is he
right?
Why
is he along for the ride?
Right. Why is he here?
Yeah.
And for a juxtaposition scene, I liked it. Because now I like having those kind of questions where, it's a surprise to see Batman and the Joker trying to work together and both of them being in full-on crazy mode. That works for me. But I still had no idea what was going on, but I was okay with that. Well, what do you think of Leto's Joker kind of in the list? Like, of all the different Jokers, where do you slot him at?
Oh, that's a hard one. Because of everything I just said, it's like he had to work with a vision that wasn't Joker, in my opinion. So, but the way he acted was really good. So, I don't know, man. Like, in my opinion, the best Joker is Mark Hamill. And it's not Mark Hamill's face. No, it's his performance. It's his performance. Right. It's just his voice, and his voice gives life to the Joker in a way nobody else does, in my opinion.
Right.
After that, my favorite Joker after that is going to be Heath Ledger's. Yeah. It was awesome. He embodied chaos perfectly.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think he stands as, if not the best. I think Nicholson gets a lot of credit for being the first and being really engaging as a character when he's on screen. But if you go back to watch the first Batman movie, it's kind of a rough watch. But he gets a lot of credit for being the first and setting that bar. And then Heath Ledger gets a lot of credit for making that character just incredibly engaging. Like, every time that character's on the screen, you're just completely engaged in what they're doing. And I do appreciate that Jared Leto brought his own take to it. He wasn't trying to ape anybody else's style. He was doing his own thing. So I do appreciate that. Right. For me, he's in kind of two different spots. Because the Suicide Squad Joker, I didn't really care for. Even just his behavior was weird. But whatever. He's the embodiment of chaos, and in a world that Batman's trying to control. That's always what his role is. So okay, that's fine. But I would slot that Joker lower. Yeah. And I would slot this Joker higher. Right. So it's the same actor playing the same role, but it's pulls it off very differently in this.
Totally different look, Totally. Did he even have the tattoo on his head?
I was just thinking that. Like, did he still have that or not?
Let's see. Joker, Snyder Cut. Because that said Snyder Butt. Snyder Cut. New look. Yeah, let's see. Let's see if it's there.
I mean, the filtering is so soft. I don't know if you could even see it.
Yeah. So he's got... No, it's not there.
So either the first one was temporary or he got it removed later.
Temporary tattoo. Joker uses temporary tattoos.
Right? That just kind of ruins it. But he was covered in tattoos in the Suicide Squad. Like, he was head to toe. So, maybe they were all henna tattoos. They just all faded away.
Yeah, he was really he was gross in the Snyder Cut. He was long, nasty hair. Yep. His mouth his teeth are just a nightmare.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare.
And the way he laughs is not appealing. Like, he doesn't have a good laugh, which is it's like a broken toy.
Yeah, it's like if you take the old the TV show Batman, right? Yeah. Burgess Meredith, I think is his name.
Oh, yes.
And just slow that down. So instead of you got this new Joker, he's like
yeah.
And it's creepy as fuck.
It is. Yeah, which is part of what appealed to me. Was like, okay, this is like the Suicide Joker I wouldn't want to be around because he seems harmful and would probably shoot me for some reason.
Yeah, and then like chew on bits of you. Yeah.
Right. This one I kind of want to hang out with because he seems like a burnout hippie who's like gone to the dark side. Yeah, I want to listen to this.
No, it was good.
I liked it. I liked that scene. And it's weird because I think that scene could have been cut, but I appreciate that it was in there. So yeah. I guess I would rather it stay than go because that as confusing as that should like be a short that's just by itself.
It could be just as he could have released it on YouTube as like oh hey, here's a little primer, get ready, and then not be in the movie at all.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah. But the biggest part of that scene is Batman says the F word.
Yeah, 2 F-bombs in that whole movie, right?
Gee, I like freaked out. You can hear it on our commentary. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you were like, what?
Dude, that caught me off guard. For those who haven't seen it, and for those who'd like to hear me use the F word, get ready. No, what's the line? It's like, he's like, I promised Harley or Harley made me promised when I killed you, and I will fucking kill you. And I was like, what?
Right. That I do it slow. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even catch the next line. I was so like, I was freaking out, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't even register. I cuss
really?
so much. Yeah, I mean, I heard him say, and I think they dropped an F-bomb earlier too.
Yeah,
there was 2 F-bombs.
Cyborg gets one too. So it's right when he first meets up with.
I don't give a fuck about everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Wonder Woman says something like, "Why don't you use your powers to help the world or something like that?" And he's like,
"Fuck the world.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about the world. Whatever."
Yeah.
Which that felt more natural. He's a young man who is in a very bad place.
Very bad.
And
place,
so to hear him say, "Yeah, you know what? Fuck the world," like that. Okay, that didn't even really register. I mean, it did a little bit because it was like, oh, these are Justice League characters. It's still a little weird, but
right.
It's fine. That last Batman F-bomb, boy howdy, that rung a bell in my head.
One, huh? I didn't even notice it, man. Like, I have it in my head that this Snyderverse is already much more dark anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, Superman kills somebody in the first one directly in Man of Steel, and it's just like, I don't know, it didn't really ring with me. It wasn't something that stood out.
Yeah,
if I was Batman, I'd be cussing all the goddamn time. So,
right.
Fuck you fucking guys, I'm gonna kick your fucking asses.
After a lifetime of growing up with the animated series and the movies, and even all the movies are all PG-13, it's like never
yeah has Kevin Conroy ever said the F-bomb
ever
while being recorded as Bruce?
Do you imagine how many kids just burst into tears across the nation?
Good.
So the theatrical cut was PG-13, and this one was an R, and part of that was they got 2 F-bombs and a couple decapitations. That was the deal.
Ultimately, it's not any worse than any other superhero movie. It's violent, and it's just a word. Like, who cares? Right.
But I mean, again, like the fact that you didn't hear it and I like stopped in my tracks. It's it's going to stick out to some people because there's no F-bombs in the Marvel universe.
Right.
I mean, unless you're Deadpool.
Yeah. There's not. No.
And what a shock Deadpool was when it first came out was like, oh my god, like, this is a superhero. And he's making dick jokes and he's
love it.
Yeah. So yeah, it just. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but yeah, that stuck out quite a bit for me.
Yeah, it feels like a comic book movie for an adult. Comics. A lot of people. Well, comics are for kids. Not really. Yeah. I mean, the people who kept comic book companies going in the 80s and 90s are us. Yeah. And so now that we're older, and it's like, I don't mind that they're darker. I don't mind that there's cussing. I don't mind that it's adult. Like. I mean, hell, look what they did to Archie on Netflix, like
it's true.
It's fine. It's fine. If you want your kids to watch kid stuff, seek out kid stuff.
And I mean, we've had violent comic book movies. I mean, we were talking earlier about, Sin City. That's an incredibly disturbing film that's comic book based.
That's that's totally fucking babied down. Like, it's totally babied down. They leave out so much.
But then you have Blade. Yeah, Blade's probably ramped up from the comics though, because that was a Marvel thing from the 70s, 80s. So
yeah, it's ramped up.
But yeah, I mean, we've had that kind of stuff before. It's just never like Batman,
not the big names. Yeah, it's like if Superman flew down and was like twisting heads off and like, I fucked your mother. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, if he went Homelander, that would stick out.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Such a good. Yeah. Anyways.
All right. So overall. Wrap this whole thing up. I think we've answered this, and I think we answered this in the beginning, but is this better than the theatrical cut?
It's 100% better. Everything about it is better. Obviously, it's too long. I'm looking forward to a fan cut. I'm looking forward to that viewer who has the editing skill and the storytelling know-how to trim the fat, because there's a lot of fat. And it could literally be a 2.5 hour long movie, maybe 3 at the most. Yeah. And it would still get this point across that Zack Snyder was going for.
Right. You're looking for that Topher Grace cut.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah, for those who don't, if you don't get that reference, Topher Grace, the actor, who's just fine.
Eric Foreman.
Right. He's done well for himself. He's living very comfortably. And as a hobby, he re-edits famous movies and like releases them just as, for himself or private viewing parties or whatever. But he'll go through a movie and re-edit it and redo parts. And from what I understand, it's often a significant improvement. So I'm looking forward to the Topher Grace cut. Release
Exactly.
# release the Topher Grace cut.
Yeah.
All right. So it's better than the theatrical cut. And we both agree on that.
Yes.
Is it a good movie?
Yeah. It's too long. I can't get over how long it is. I don't want to rewatch it because it's so long. Like if I do watch it, I'm just going to be skipping.
And like I said earlier, I mentioned earlier, Jeremy loves movies. Like that's one thing. Like in our friendship, we've been friends for a long, long time, and I am a cursory watcher of movies. Sometimes I'm terrible. Like I've not seen a lot of really important movies, or I've seen like the last 3 Harry Potter movies. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's not me. But for you to say, and you're someone who watches movies a number of times,
over and over and over and over again.
for you to say like, all right, once was enough, I'm done. Does that make it a good movie to you, or is it just because it's too long?
It's a good movie that it's hard to say. Yes, it's a good movie, but it's not rewatchable, in my opinion. For me, and I keep saying in my opinion, we have to, I feel like you have to protect yourselves these days. In my fucking opinion, it's too long for me. I don't feel any pull to rewatch it. If Superman was in it more, and I know it wasn't about just Superman, but I'm a huge Superman fan and a huge Henry Cavill fan.
Yeah.
If Batman was Batman more in it, we didn't get a lot of Batman stuff, but it's just too long. Yeah. So if it was shorter, if they trim the fat, if they get rid of some of the stuff that is pointless to the overall story,
that crab walker thing, just get rid of that thing.
I know.
The walking tank thing, cut that whole.
It's dumb. The dream sequences don't matter. Martian Manhunter doesn't matter. Right. Slow-mo shots of Lois putting coffee on the ledge of a window doesn't fucking matter. So if you get rid of that shit, the scene with Martian Manhunter as Martha, get rid of all that stuff. Cut the film back to like 2.5, 3 hours at most. It's something that I can put on while I do other stuff. But I'm not ever going to sit down and purposely watch it again just because I enjoyed it so much.
That's kind of the sentiment I had. I was thinking about it. I was like, I could see putting this on when I have a project to do. Or I could see putting this on while I'm putting together furniture that my wife ordered off of the internet. Like,
right.
I could see that. Okay, I've got a long task ahead of me, or I've got a chore, or I've got something. I'll put this on in the background. Every now and then when I look up, it'll be interesting, and it'll be usually visually appealing, and then I can go back when it starts going into those slow motion coffee scenes.
Yeah.
Where would you stack it against the other movies in the DCCU?
Okay, so my favorite DCU movie is what did you call it? DCCU?
Yeah, it's the DC Cinematic Universe.
Oh. That works. Okay. Is Man of Steel easily.
Okay.
I love that movie, and I can watch it over and over again. Yeah, it has its share of problems, and a lot of people don't like the way they, develop the character, blah, blah, blah. I love it. I can watch it over and over again. Okay. So that's my favorite. Wonder Woman, the first one. The first Wonder Woman. Not the second.
not 84?
No.
You don't like movies with 3 opening acts that each last 40 minutes?
God damn, dude. Like, that movie. I was so hyped because the first one was so good. Anyways, so Wonder Woman is my second favorite DCCU movie, I think. Okay. It's really good. Yeah. It's a fantastic movie. It's fun. The music is amazing. Like Diana's score. Yep. Her fight scene music is just, it is awesome. Like, you put that shit on in the gym, like, it just gets you fucking hyped, right? It's good.
You're like 300 kicking people like off of machines that you want.
Oh, man. Exactly. Yeah. It's perfect for what it was meant for. It's so good. So Wonder Woman's next. I think this one would probably be third. I don't hate Batman versus Superman as much as most every other person on the planet.
Right.
You know, that one was a very depressing. You know, Superman was depressed with the whole thing. He's just feeling sorry for himself and hating his place in the world. And that's not Superman. Superman's always positive. He's ultimate. You know, everything's going to be fine because we're gonna work together kind of guy. And he was not like, that's not this version of Superman, I guess. And so Batman versus Superman is good, but I think this Snyder Cut is a bit better.
Yeah. And it's got that, you know, terrible Martha scene in it. You know, like that's.
I know it's people made fun of it to death, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, I would say for me is probably the first Wonder Woman movie would be the top.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
damn good.
And then maybe Batman versus Superman, and then maybe this Snyder Cut. But the Snyder Cut might edge out Batman v Superman. So like I probably won't be watching it again, like you said, terribly soon as a movie, like to sit down and actually go through the whole thing.
Yeah,
but I did enjoy it, so I would say that I could recommend it.
Yeah. I forgot Aquaman.
Now I haven't seen Aquaman, so I've heard it's good though, but I can't.
It is, and Shazam. I forgot about Shazam too. I guess is Shazam technically part of this DC CU? As
I would say
it?
So. I don't. Yeah, there's a little crossover with Superman in it, so I would say yes.
Oh, yeah, there is. And we're not going to see a sequel of that either, right? I mean, I haven't heard anything about it.
No.
It was really good. It was a fun movie. They captured the essence, I think, of that character, a kid in a superhero's body. They did a really good job.
Yeah.
I'd put that pretty high. You know, I think that's actually Shazam and Aquaman would actually be before Justice League Snyder Cut.
Okay. So it's about in the middle. It sits right in about the middle.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Wonder Woman 84 is awful. Suicide Squad is awful.
Suicide Squad was just disappointing.
Yeah. Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey is awful. So yeah.
I don't track deep on the DCCU because it's just every time I go there I get kicked in the balls. It's like I don't want to keep going back.
I really hope that like we should watch Man of Steel next. That should be the next one we watch. We should watch Aquaman. I think you'll like Aquaman.
Okay. I love Jason Momoa, so
he's awesome.
But that's already a positive in my viewpoint. Yeah. So I'm already walking into it positive. So
it's really good, and it is neon and it's bright and it's fun,
which I like. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's very cool.
Yeah,
he's the aesthetic that they have for him in this movie is way better than the comic books. You know, Jason Momoa really does a good job, in my opinion. Suicide Squad is garbage. Birds of Prey is garbage. Yeah. Wonder Woman 84 is garbage. I mean, hot, stinking garbage. They're so bad.
The aesthetic was so different. Like, I'm a little over the 80s thing. You know, like the Stranger Things was fun. But it's like, all right, I grew up in the 80s. Like, I don't have this romanticized view of it. Like, to me, it's a lot of bad TV and early tech. Like, I just had to slog through to get to where we are now. But for someone born in the 90s or the 2000s even, like, they see this as like, oh, it's this magical time of neon and spandex. And it's like, no, man, it's just as shitty.
It was terrible. It was awful.
So, yeah, I don't have that. Maybe that fetishized view of the 80s to where that wasn't an appeal to me. It was actually more of a like, no, I'm good. I'll pass. All right. Well, how would you then? So we've stacked it up against other movies in the DCCU. Right. How would you stack this against the MCU?
Oh, low. The DCU has been rushed. The characters have been rushed. Some of the art and like Man of Steel is fantastic. The Batfleck, Ben Affleck as a whole, I love everything. I love the art. I love the look. I love the voice modulation. I love the older Bruce Wayne who's just tired of shit. I love that the DCU is a darker version of the comic book. So I like the fact that Batman used that M60 to shoot the guy's tank and kill him. I like all that. I like him smashing heads into the ground, and I like it. It's real, or it's real. I know that was a fucking.
But no, I know
say.
What you're saying. Like it's
a little more grounded in realism.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And And so I like a lot of the art direction in these movies. But for the most part, no, they're subpar in terms of comparing it or them to the MCU. The MCU is just, they had way too much time to make it good, and they made it damn good.
Yeah, they really seem to have, magic in a bottle over there. Because I mentioned this earlier, every time they strike out towards a new character, there's a part of me that's like, oh, you overplayed your hand. When they're, hey, we're announcing Ant-Man with Paul Rudd. You overplayed your hand. I get it. I get where the confidence is coming from. I get why you do it, but this is going to be it. This is going to be it. And then it comes out and it's like, this movie's charming and I love it and I want to watch this again.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. Ant-Man is so good. And people, I feel like it's not respected as much as the other movies, but Ant-Man is fan-fucking-tastic.
The climactic end battle scene takes place on a model train set. Like it's hard
so
to,
amazing.
but I appreciate that. I appreciate that it was a movie released in the middle of all these big galactic tales that was a small story. Right. It was almost like a bottle story about a guy and his daughter and his ex-wife and trying to figure this thing out. He wasn't trying to save the world. He wasn't I'm drawn to greatness. It's like, man, I am on parole and I can't get a real job. Like, this sucks. And that's
Baskin Robin always knows.
Baskin Robbins always knows. But it was good because it was a small story. Like it fit as a nice little morsel in that overall 12-course meal they were serving.
Right.
So yeah, it's like Marvel takes these small third-tier characters and just keeps knocking them out of the park, and then DC's got like Superman and they can't get it to work.
Right.
And it's like, this should be easy. We've loved this character for 50 years. Like, how are you struggling to win us over to Superman?
I know. I think, a lot of people don't like Superman because he's unbeatable, right? He's too powerful. So how do you give him a threat? So they have to make his threat existential or emotional.
Yeah,
and that's not fun at all.
But that's comic stuff. I mean, you want to dig through 100 years of comics, you have to get creative and you have to screw with that character. But you've got one movie. You're restarting this character. I mean, there was 3 different Supermen so far. You're starting your 4th one. I get wanting to plant your flag, and tell a different story. I appreciate that. But there's so many Superman stories to tell, and they aren't all the death of Superman. Like, that was big, but
I know.
that's not everything. You don't have to do that every time.
No, the world needs some hope right now. And he talks about the S means hope and all that shit, right? Okay, so make a hopeful, happier movie.
Yeah.
Show him getting over the, torn between two worlds shit.
Yeah.
Have him be okay with where he's at now and actually just be a happy guy. That would be nice to show him hopeful and enjoying saving people rather than it feeling like a burden.
We mentioned that a few times with the Cyborg character. He's so tortured by this incredible power he has. You and I are both like, I'll trade you. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll trade you.
I would love to be a robot. Just do it. Like, I'm down.
Yep.
Like, man, if my dad was a super scientist, like, I'd be sweet. My dad's a carpenter. I'd end up like Pinocchio. Like, that's not good. Like, I was all for it.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're gonna just roll this kind of directly into our hold list section, and like we've been talking about, if we recommend it or not. So I will say I recommend this movie. I say see it, especially if you've seen the theatrical cut. It's just an interesting study into different directors' visions.
Yeah.
But I would say it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
But I probably won't I probably won't be going back to it quite very soon.
No. I agree. It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch as it is right now. And I'm not trying to be like a dick. Like, no. I just feel like if you've seen the theatrical cut, like you just said, watch this. It's way better.
Yeah.
But it's not so good that it demands another or even multiples. Like it's just a one and done. It's better. It's good.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like if it's worth watching once, just watch it once. If you're like me, it's not Into the Spider-Verse, which you've seen 200 times. It's not that kind of trip. All right, so we both recommend it of varying degrees, but yes. I would say go give it a spin.
Give it a go.
Yeah. All right, well, that will lead us into our IRL Hero of the Week, where we take a moment to spotlight heroes in our own universe, and we're going to stick with Zack Snyder here. And Zack Snyder has requested that if you like this movie, you have a subscription to HBO and all that stuff, and HBO's making money, and Zack made a lot of money, and everyone's doing great. But if you like this movie, he's asked that people donate to the AFSP, and that's the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And like we talked about earlier, his daughter took her own life, and that affected, obviously, him and his family a great deal. And so he has become a proponent for this organization, and they've been able to raise a lot of money for this group. And there's a quote from the site. To quote, "We've created this official tribute site as many can continue to be inspired by Autumn, offering their support to the important work of this foundation. Today, more than ever, recognizing and destigmatizing conversations surrounding mental health, suicide awareness, and prevention is crucial. We are honored by the amazing way Autumn's legacy has inspired so many to dedicate their efforts and resources to helping others when they need it most. With deepest thanks and gratitude, the Snyder family." So yeah, like you were saying, man, we need some hope right now.
We do.
Things are rough. So
things are very rough.
Yeah. If you need someone to talk to, or even if, man, shit just gets to you sometimes, there's people out there looking out for you. There's people you can talk to. And again, he's asked, if you enjoy this film, a lot of it he edited, post his daughter's death. So it was very heavy on his mind. You see kind of shout outs to this foundation in the movie in a few different spots. We talked about that. But yeah, give it a look. Check out the site. It is afsp.donordrive.com, and you can just look that up. You can look up Snyder, or if you look up Zack Snyder charity, it's the first thing that comes up.
Yeah, it's easy to find.
Right. And in that same vein, all the Zack Snyder Justice League branded merch, all that specific, it's got his name on it. It's got the jail logo, the special shield one, I think was made for the movie. Everything with that, all the merchandise with that iconography, all proceeds go to the AFSP. So that's awesome. If you want to get, and there's some cool designs. They actually got some like actual artists to do some kind of interpretive work. So there's a weird one with like a zombie Superman who's half Batman and half Dr. Manhattan.
Oh, very nice.
It's a funky shirt, and I kind of want it. So,
yeah, if you're not keen on giving away money and seeing nothing in return, get some merch. Sure, and you're helping that way too.
Sure, yeah. Or if you want to get a cool shirt with what looks like witchcraft written across it, but when you look at it closely, it's like all the logos for all the different heroes. Yeah, check that out. It's some cool designs, and all the proceeds go to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So
very nice.
Yeah, it's a great thing for Zack to be doing with this moment of spotlight. Like to make sure, hey, glad you like the movie, but this thing's actually more important to me. So check that out. All right, that'll do it for this week. I do think that this podcast might be as long as the movie itself, so enjoy. If you're wondering what to do with your 4 hours, you can either listen to this or you can watch the movie. So enjoy. Next week, we're coming right back to spend some more time with Wonder Woman, but unfortunately, it appears we're too late because Earth is done so.
Yeah.
So we wake Diana up out of a deep, deep sleep, step over the bones of Bruce Wayne, and check out Wonder Woman Dead Earth by DC Black Label. Now, we've both been digging on that one, and that's the truth. So keep your kinky magic lassos to yourself. All right? Thank you. All right. For Minding the Multiverse, I am Gabriel.
And I'm Jeremy.
And remember, all of this is now canon.